Okay, right. So let's go ahead and start the class. Okay, sorry, I was trying to help a student who was having difficulty trying to access the live stream because she was using the browser. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start now the class. Alright. Okay, right. So today's class is actually a H2 class. So if you are a H1 student, you are supposed to attend the Sunday class tomorrow at 10:30 a.m., which will be taught by Miss Arena. Right, so but if you're a H2 student, then this class, no matter what, you have to attend because this is a topic tested. Okay? Right, so we are going to talk about firm theory today. We're going to talk about objectives of firms, costs and revenue, which is a little bit complicated. So let's go ahead and start. Now first, when we talk about profits at econs for the A levels, you have to understand that for economists, our idea of profits is vastly different from the idea of profits from an accounting point of view. So when a regular person talks about profits and an economist talk about profits, they're actually very different concepts. Because in econs, right, when we talk about profits, we are talking about economic profits. Economic profits takes into consideration both implicit cost and explicit cost. Whereas for the regular person out there, when they take into account profits, they only take into consideration of explicit costs. Alright, so what are your explicit costs? Okay, your explicit costs, okay, let me just write it down for you. Your explicit costs will be your things that are rents, basically your business operating costs like rent, wages, raw materials. Okay, these are what we call your explicit costs. Whereas your implicit costs will be things like your opportunity costs associated with carrying out this business. Okay, so what exactly would constitute an opportunity cost? Now, I think a few years back when I went to Bangkok and I met a couple of Singaporeans who set up a tailor shop at this place called Platinum Mall. So they told us that they were bankers. Both of them, they were previously working in a bank, and they were making about $5,000 a month. Okay, and they gave up their banking job to go and start up a tailor business in Bangkok. Now, so for them, right, they had of course things like rent, wages to pay, but for them, they actually have an implicit cost as well. What is an example of an implicit cost? The implicit cost for them, when it comes to the two of them working as a tailor now, okay, starting a tailor shop. For the two of them, their opportunity cost is that they gave up a $5,000 salary to be starting this tailor shop. So for them, there is an opportunity cost of $5,000, and that qualifies as implicit cost. Okay, but from a business point of view, you actually don't take into consideration implicit cost. Only from an economics point of view, then you take into consideration an implicit cost. Right, and what's normal profits and what's subnormal profits and what's supernormal profits? So for normal profits, okay, is when you make zero profits. And zero profits is when your revenue is equals to your cost. That is where you have normal profits. Subnormal profits is when your cost is greater than your revenue. And your supernormal profits is when your revenue is greater than your cost. Okay? So this is the meaning of normal profits, subnormal profits, and supernormal profits in econs. Right, next. Okay, there are two ways that we look at this concept called profit maximization. First of all, what is the meaning of profit maximization? Now, we assume that all firms, okay, by default, unless otherwise specified, we assume that all firms out there, their main objective and motive is to actually maximize profits. Means they want to actually maximize the profits that they have. Okay? Let me just check on whether this student managed to actually join us for the live stream. Okay, she managed to come in already, so good. Right, so we assume that all firms by default they want to maximize profits. But how do firms actually try to maximize profits? There are two ways to try to maximize profits. One is what we call the TR minus TC approach. TR stands for total revenue, TC stands for total cost. And then there's also the MCMR approach. MCMR approach stands for marginal cost, marginal revenue approach. Okay, what is the TRTC approach? Yeah, TRTC approach is a very straightforward approach. Okay, so to find out profits, we take total revenue minus total cost, we'll get our profits. Okay, so how do we actually maximize profit using the TR minus TC approach? Okay, we want to make this number the biggest number that we can make it, right? So if we want to make this number the biggest we want to make it, so how do we do it is that we can maximize the total revenue and we can minimize your total cost. So maximizing your total revenue is to actually sell more units of the good as much as you can. Okay, minimizing your total cost would be things like cutting down on your wages, cutting down on the cost of your raw materials, cutting down on the cost of your rental. Okay, that will be to minimize your total cost. So if you maximize the TR and minimize the TC, you will get the biggest profits that you can get. Alright, so this is a very straightforward approach. Okay, what is the next approach? The next approach is what we call the marginal cost, marginal revenue approach. Now, so marginal cost, marginal revenue approach, this is what we call, in econs, we often use this one, we call this the profit maximization point. Okay, if we produce at where MC is equals to MR, it is the point where we are able to maximize our profits. Alright, now so before we go on to talk about this profit maximization point, let's first understand the concept of marginal cost, understand the concept of marginal revenue, and so on and so forth first. We start first with marginal cost. What is marginal cost? Marginal cost is the cost, okay, of producing one additional unit of the good. So if I produce one more unit of the good, how much will it cost me to produce one more unit of the good? That's the meaning of marginal cost. Whereas marginal revenue is that if I were to sell one more unit of the good, how much more revenue will I get from selling that one extra unit of the good? That's the meaning of marginal revenue. Okay? Your marginal cost curve is always a Nike tick. Okay, a Nike tick that looks like that. Your marginal cost looks like that. And your marginal revenue curve is sometimes depending. Okay, it is sometimes a horizontal line and sometimes it's a downward sloping line. Later we're going to have a look at that in greater detail. Okay, so I'm going to run you through this table to help you to understand how to calculate marginal cost. Okay, so let's look at this product. Okay, if we produce one unit of the product, okay, our cost is $5. That means to say that the marginal cost for producing the first unit of the product will cost me $5. Okay, average cost, how to calculate average cost? Average cost is total cost divided by the output. Okay, so 5 is the total cost, divided by 1, that gives me 5 also. So that's why the average cost is 5. Okay, next, if I produce the second unit of the good, my total cost increases from $5 to $9. That means my marginal cost is $9 minus $5, which gives me $4. So my marginal cost for producing the second unit of the good is $4. Okay, next, we have average cost. How to calculate the average cost? We take 9 divided by 2. 9 divided by 2 gives us 4.5. Okay, 9 divided by 2 gives us 4.5. So our average cost is 4.5. And for producing the third unit of the good, our total cost go up from $9 to $12. That means it costs us an extra $3 to produce one extra unit of the good. So the marginal cost is 3. So the total cost is 12 divided by 3 gives us the average cost of 4. And lastly, if I produce one more unit of the good, it costs me $13. Okay, that means to say that the cost of producing that one additional unit is only $1 more. Alright, so the marginal cost is $1, and the average cost is 13 divided by 4, which gives you 13.25. So this is how you calculate marginal cost. How much does it cost to produce that one extra unit of the good? That is how we calculate marginal cost. Okay, marginal revenue, the same thing goes. If I produce one unit, if I sell one unit of the good, I get $10 revenue. If I sell the second unit, I get $18. If I get $18 for selling the second unit, total revenue for selling 2 units, that means my revenue for selling the extra 1 unit is $8. If I sell 3 units, my total revenue goes up from 18 to 25. That means my extra revenue from selling the third unit is $7. If I get $30 for selling 4 units, that means to say that my extra revenue from selling the fourth unit is 30 minus 25, which gives me 5. Okay, so you should be able to understand the concept of marginal cost and marginal revenue from these 2 slides. Okay, everybody is able to catch me so far? I know it's a little bit dry at this juncture, but does everybody understand what exactly we are going through? Okay, Okay, that's good. Let's carry on. Okay, next. Now, so let's do some drawing over here. Okay. Okay, now when we want to show marginal cost equals to marginal revenue, we have to be sure to understand, okay, what are we drawing. Now when we are drawing PC, right, the profit maximization point, right, PC, okay, there are 4 different kinds of market structure which we are not learning about today. We're going to learn the 4 different kinds of market structures in the following lesson. But for now, while we are explaining this point, please know that there's a difference between these 2 different market structures. Perfect competition is one kind of market structure, and monopoly is one kind of market structure. Okay, we draw the MC equals to MR differently between perfect competition and the monopoly. We start first with the perfect competition firm. Now for the perfect competition firm, right, okay, we start first with our MC curve, which is a 90-tick, upward sloping 90-tick. And then we have our MRAR curve, which is a horizontal line. Okay, for your perfect competition firm, okay, the reason why your curve looks like that is because this is actually your demand curve. Your demand curve is always equals to your average revenue curve. So these are first things that I'm going to teach you today about graph drawing. Your demand curve is equals to your average revenue curve. Okay? Now for PC firm, right, please know that PC firms are price taker. Because they are price takers, right, they don't set their own price. They don't set their own price means to say that they take the price they take the market price to be their own price. Means that they will always sell at only one price. For example, if the market price is $5, okay, if the market price is $5, then every unit of the good they sell will be at $5. If every unit of the good they sell is at $5, then your average revenue will be at $5. If your average revenue is always at $5 and every unit of the good costs $5, that means your marginal revenue will always also be $5. So that is the reason why for your PC firm, okay, your AR is always equals to your MR and your MR is also your demand curve, and that's why in your perfect competition firm curve, demand is equals to average revenue is equals to marginal revenue, and it's always a horizontal line across. Okay? Right, so and then your MC curve looks like this, and then for your monopoly, right? Okay, I'm going to write this down so that you're clear. Your PC curve, your PC firm, okay, your PC firm your monopoly, your MC, your oligopoly, means we can say all other firms. So all other firms, your curve look like that. Only your PC firm curve looks like that. Okay? Now, so for your all other firms, right, your demand, I'm gonna cancel something. Give me a minute, so let me just erase something first for you. Okay. This is my demand curve. This also equals to my average revenue curve, and this is my marginal revenue curve. Now, so for when we are drawing our monopoly, MC, or oligopoly curves, right, the demand curve is a standard demand curve, which is a downward sloping curve. And remember what we said just now? We said that one of the rules is that your demand curve and your average revenue curve is always the same. Now, the second rule is that when you're drawing marginal revenue curve, right, for a non-PC firm, right, your marginal revenue curve, right, is always a downward sloping curve that is halfway point, okay, between your origin and your AR curve. So you draw a downward sloping curve, but you slope it such a way that eventually it reaches the midpoint in between your origin and your demand curve or your AR curve. So that is how you always draw your marginal revenue curve. So I'm teaching you basically how to draw your MC equal MR in these various circumstances. So your MC equals to MR for your PC is here. Your MC equals to MR for your, maybe I use another color, I use blue so that it's easier for you to see. Okay, so your MC equal MR for your PC is here. Your MC equal MR, okay, for your monopoly is here. So your output is here, and your output is here. And then for the monopoly, your price is here. Okay, so for this one, this is your price and this is your output. Okay, it's okay that you don't understand what the heck I'm talking about today. It's totally okay, because these concepts are pretty complicated, and you will take about 6 to 7 lessons where you start to begin to appreciate everything coming together. So today is an introductory lesson to firm theory. So a lot of things you don't understand, that's okay. Alright, take your time. Right, so for now, just make sure you learn how to draw these diagrams correctly and accurately. So have you all made sure that you all drawn out these diagrams already? So if you have not done so, then please make sure you draw it out. Make sure that you are familiar with this. Later on, we are going to continue trying to draw a few diagrams. Okay? I can give you 1 minute so that you can catch up on the diagram drawing. Okay, if you are done drawing, then just look up to the web camera to let me know you are done. Okay, if you are still drawing, then you look down and continue drawing so I know you are still drawing. Okay, so that will help me to see whether or not I am okay to continue with the class. Alright, so drawing, continue drawing, not drawing, look at me in the web camera. Let me see, see if everybody seems to be ready. Okay, everybody looks ready, so let's carry on. Now, why is it that your MC is equals to MR, the profit maximization condition? Now, so why is that so? Now, first, I'm going to draw out a standard MC equals to MR diagram for you to see. Okay, actually, yeah, I think I'll draw it out here. So let me just draw it out first. I'll draw out a standard MC equals MR diagram. You have a piece of paper. Follow me in drawing, okay? Okay, I'm going to draw a standard MC equal MR diagram, a profit maximization for normal firm, not PC firm, a normal firm. Alright, so I'm going to draw it out here. Okay, this is a standard profit maximization diagram that applies for MC, that applies for oligopoly, and it applies for monopoly. Right, so I'll advise you all to draw this out. Okay, so you can draw this out. Now, I am going to draw imaginary divider, so you don't need to draw the imaginary divider. What you can do is you can take a ruler you can take a ruler so that you can put it at where I put the line so that you can see. Okay, I'm going to put a line that is supposed to be imaginary over here. Okay, can you see where my yellow line is? Can see? Now put a ruler on your own diagram. Now over here I am going to label your marginal cost curve. I'm going to label your marginal cost curve here in red and your marginal revenue curve in red, so you can see your marginal cost curve and marginal revenue curve clearly. Now first, let's look at on the left hand side of the diagram. So left, then this is the right. Let's start with looking at the left hand side of the diagram. Your left hand side of the diagram, can you all see that your marginal revenue curve is greater than your marginal cost curve? That means numerically speaking, right, your marginal revenue, right, curve is on top of your marginal cost curve. Can you see that? Now, numerically speaking, in terms of numbers, all the units, because the marginal revenue curve is on top of the marginal cost curve. That means to say all the numbers of the marginal revenue curve is greater than the numbers of the marginal cost curve. Mathematically, do you all agree with my saying? You agree, right? Now, so that means to say this. Now, let me translate this into English. Let me translate the graph into English. Now, on the left-hand side of the curve, right, for every unit of the good that I sell, right, okay, sorry, for every extra one more unit of the good I sell, right, the revenue that I get from selling one extra unit of the good is greater than the cost that it costs me to produce that one extra unit of the good. I repeat, so in English, this is what it translates to. Okay, what I get from selling one extra unit of the good is more than what it costs me to produce that one extra unit of the good. if marginal revenue is greater than marginal cost. In English, that is what that means. So class, tell me, should I therefore produce more or should I produce less if I want to make more money? You can type, you can use the chat box. I can read your answers in the chat box. Tell me whether I should produce more or should I produce less if I want to make more money. Absolutely right, we should produce more. Why should we produce more? Because for every unit of the good that I produce and sell, the money that I get from selling one extra unit is more than the cost it costs me to produce one extra unit. Of course, I should produce more and not less. So if I can make more money by producing more, am I maximizing my profits yet? You can nod your head or you can shake your head. So if I can make more money by producing more, am I maximizing my profits yet? I'm not maximizing my profits yet, so I should produce more to maximize my profits. So everything on the left hand side of the diagram, I am not yet profit maximizing. Okay, now let's look at the right hand side of the diagram. Now if you were to look at the right hand side of the diagram, what observations can you make? If you look at the right hand side of the diagram, can you see that your marginal cost curve on the right hand side of the diagram is always, the numbers are always larger than your marginal revenue curve. Can you see that? So on the right hand side of the curve, I repeat, the marginal cost curve, right, is always larger, which is on top of the marginal revenue curve. Can you see that? Can see, So if that is the case, then what does that mean? Let's translate that to English. For every one extra unit that I produce, right, the amount of money that it costs me to produce one extra unit is greater than the money that I get from selling one extra unit. Right? That means to say every extra unit that I produce, I am making losses because it costs me more to produce that one extra unit than I can get money, okay, for producing that one extra unit. Okay, so if that's the case, right, I will actually make losses to produce one extra unit of the good because my marginal cost is greater than marginal revenue. In that case, okay, if I'm making losses with extra units that I'm producing, in order to make less losses, I should cut back on my production. Okay, so I will make more money if I produce less. So I will be able to increase my profits if I produce less. Okay, so on the right hand side of the diagram, okay, because your marginal cost, my marginal cost is greater than my marginal revenue, so I should produce less. To maximize profits, I should produce less. So this is not ideal, and this is also not ideal. And so when is the situation that it is ideal? It is only when MC is equals to MR that it is ideal, because when MC is lesser than MR, we should produce more. If MC is greater than MR, we should produce less. Okay, so it actually makes more sense, right, if we produce at where MC is equals to MR. And this is what we call the profit maximization principle, okay, using the marginalist principle. Okay, I hope you're able to understand what we were talking about so far. Okay, now let's move on to my next slide. Okay, we're going on to talk about something that is a little bit less dry. Okay, so we're gonna spend some time talking about these things. Okay, right now we're gonna talk about other things, other potential motives of firms. Now, firms don't have to have just a profit maximization motive. Firms can have other objectives other than profit maximization, and these are four of the alternative objectives of firms that we want to discuss today. So they're entry deterrence, revenue maximization, profit satisficing, and market share dominance. Let's start first with entry deterrence. Okay, So for this, I am going to show you guys okay, so I found one that I like, so I'm going to show it to you. I'll show this to you. Okay, now I'll go ahead and show you how high oil prices has ever been. Okay, now so your oil prices has gone up to as high as $140 per barrel. I don't know why it doesn't show up here, but it has gone as high as US $140 per barrel before. Alright, that is the highest that oil prices have ever gone to. And yet as it has gone also as low as US $30 over per barrel. So at US $30 per barrel, right, the barrel holding the oil, right, is actually worth more than the oil inside. Right, at US $30 $30 plus per barrel, which makes oil really cheap. And why the oil price fell in 2014 to 2015 to this low, right? So ridiculously low of US $30 per barrel is actually this OPEC, right? What they were trying to do was this, that OPEC is a cartel, an oil cartel. They are a bunch of countries, okay, that produces oil, right? So they band together to control output and then therefore set prices together collectively. So that's what OPEC does. Now, so OPEC, right, they actually in 2015, 2016, they lowered the price of oil to about US $30 per barrel. Okay, the reason why they were trying to do this was actually to do this thing called entry deterrence. Hey, so what is entry deterrence? Now, so I'll probably let you catch Yeah, I'm gonna let y'all catch a video, and you can watch this for a short while.
The majority of this energy consumption is supplied by fossil fuels like coal or natural gas. Recently, there's been a lot of talk about a controversial method of extracting natural gas: hydraulic fracturing, or fracking. Put simply, fracking describes the recovery of natural gas from deep layers inside the earth. In this method, porous rock is fractured by the use of water, sand, and chemicals in order to release the enclosed natural gas. The technique of fracking has been known since the 1940s. Nonetheless, only in the last 10 years has there been quite a fracking boom, especially in the USA. This is because most conventional natural gas sources in America and on the European continent have been exhausted. Thus, prices for natural gas and other fuels are rising steadily. Significantly more complicated and expensive methods, like fracking, have now become attractive and profitable. In the meantime, fracking has already been used more than 1 million times in the USA alone. Over 60% of all new oil and gas wells are drilled by using fracking. Now, let's take a look at how fracking actually works. First, a shaft is drilled several hundred meters into the earth. From there, a horizontal hole is drilled into the gas-bearing layer of rock. Next, the fracking fluid is pumped into the ground using high-performance pumps. On average, the fluid consists of 8 million liters of water, which amounts to about the daily consumption of 65,000 people, plus several thousand tons of sand and about 200,000 liters of chemicals. The mixture penetrates into the rock layer and produces innumerable tiny cracks. The sand prevents the cracks from closing again. The chemicals perform various tasks. Among other things, they compress the water, kill off bacteria, or dissolve minerals. Next, the majority of the fracking fluid is pumped out again. And now the natural gas can be recovered. As soon as the gas source is exhausted, the drill hole is sealed. As a rule, the fracking fluid is pumped back into deep underground layers and sealed in there. However, fracking is also associated with several considerable risks. The primary risk consists in the contamination of drinking water sources. Fracking not only consumes large quantities of fresh water, but in addition the water is subsequently contaminated and is highly toxic. The contamination is so severe that the water cannot even be cleaned in a treatment plant. Even though the danger is known and theoretically could be managed, in the USA already, sources have been contaminated due to negligence. No one yet knows how the enclosed water will behave in the future, since there have not yet been any long-term studies on the subject. The chemicals used in fracking vary from the hazardous to the extremely toxic and carcinogenic, such as benzol or formic acid. The companies using fracking say nothing about the precise composition of the chemical mixture. But it is known that there are about 700 different chemical agents which can be used in the process. Another risk is the release of greenhouse gases. The natural gas recovered by fracking consists largely of methane, a greenhouse gas which is 25 times more potent than carbon dioxide. Natural gas is less harmful than coal when burned, but nonetheless, the negative effects of fracking on the climate balance are overall greater. Firstly, the fracking process requires a very large consumption of energy. Secondly, the drill holes are quickly exhausted, and it's necessary to drill fracking holes much more frequently than for classical natural gas wells. In addition, about 3% of the recovered gas is lost in the extraction and escapes into the atmosphere. So how is fracking and its expected benefits to be assessed when the advantages are balanced against the disadvantages? When properly employed, this technique offers one way in the short to medium term to meet our demand for lower cost energy. But the long-term consequences of fracking are unforeseeable, and the risk to our drinking water thus should not be underestimated.
Okay, the reason why I spend time to let you watch this video is because this question, this fracking as a process can be tested as a rational decision making framework question, asking you, whether or not fracking is better than the extraction of fossil fuels. Now, so basically, right, if you think about it, right, what was OPEC doing trying to lower the oil price from $140 per barrel to $30 per barrel? It was because they wanted to prevent shale energy by United States, okay, from coming into the market for energy consumption at all. Okay, so that's the reason why they actually lowered the price. They want to lower the price because at this particular point in time, when shale was becoming more and more popular, shale was actually very expensive to actually extract because the technology was still not yet very mature, right? So that's why it was actually quite costly to extract shale. So they were actually trying to prevent shale from entering the market altogether. That's the reason why they pushed the prices so low. Okay, right, next. Market share dominance is a little bit different from your entry deterrence. For your market share dominance is that you are trying to compete with firms who are already in the same kind of situation as you are, and you are trying to compete for the most market share possible because eventually you want to be the one with the highest market share so that you can actually manipulate the market pricing. Right, so this is in the case of Singapore 2 to 3 years ago when there was both Uber and Grab. So both Uber and Grab were giving you discount codes of up to $6-7 each time. The reason why they're giving you this kind of crazy discounts was because they both wanted to actually gain as much market share as possible. Eventually, you're going to end up having only one firm, okay, which was what happened in Singapore. So Uber died in Singapore, right? There's only Grab remaining in Singapore, but previously it was actually Uber and Grab. Alright. Okay, next, a company like a company that carries out revenue maximization could be because profits at this juncture are not important to them. Okay, so I'm going to give you an example of what kind of firm will actually want to maximize revenue as opposed to maximizing profits. So for some companies, right, when they want to actually go for IPO stands for initial public offering. So they actually don't care whether or not they are making profits. They just want to reach as high as possible a number in terms of its revenue, okay, so that they can actually raise a lot of funding. So firms like this can carry out revenue maximization as a strategy as opposed to profit maximization. So to give you an example of a firm that previously carried out a strategy of revenue maximization would be WeWork. Okay, it's quite a famous example. You can go and Google and read up a little bit about it. Okay, or if not, then just give me a minute. I will find a relevant article for you. Okay, you can go and take some time to read this on WeWork. In the meanwhile, let me just point out to you what kind of other firms may have revenue maximization as a strategy. And I'm going to name you a couple of people, and then you tell me if you know who they are. First of all, do you know who is Robert Downey Jr.? Okay, can you type out in the chat box and tell me who is he and how come you know who he is? Right, so Robert Downey Jr. is Iron Man, of course, right? Do you think that do you think Robert Downey Jr. has an agent, a manager, a managing company managing him? Do you think he has a company managing him as an actor? Yes or no? Yes, right. So he has a company managing him as an actor, right? Now, so do you know that for famous actors like them, right, their salaries are most of the time not fixed. It means they usually take a cut of how much the movie makes in terms of revenue. So like for example, if the actor is very famous and very well known, his salary may not be in, let's say, millions. His salary might be in terms of percentages. So like he can cut a deal and say, okay, I want 5% of the total revenue earned by the film studio. The total box office sales, I want 5%. Okay, so if the movie makes $1 billion in box office sales, right? $1 billion multiplied by 5%, that's $50 million US. Okay, now so if you realize that, right? So a company that was managing Robert Downey Jr., right? He wouldn't want to go for profit maximization. He would want to go for revenue maximization, because the cost for marketing, the cost for filming the movie, this has got nothing to do with him. Okay, nothing to do with him at all. All the costs are borne by the studio. Okay, his company only cares about making as much money as they can, because actually all the revenue are profits for them. Okay, so this is one reason why they may wish to go for revenue maximization as a strategy as opposed to profit maximization. Okay, and lastly, we are going to talk about this concept called profit satisficing. Okay, what is the concept of profit satisficing? So profit satisficing is a problem whereby now when companies are being run by managers, and the managers are not they don't own a share of the company, they may carry out what we call profit satisficing. Meaning to say, so I give you an example. So let's say as a worker, if I put in 100% of my efforts, I can help the company make $100,000 a month. If I put in 70% of the effort, I can help the company make $70,000 a month. And if I put in 50% of my effort, I can make the company earn $50,000 a month. Okay, how much would I then want to help the company make every month? The answer you think will be the maximum, but no. It's actually if I help the company make $100,000 a month, it doesn't mean that my bosses will pay me more. Right? I will just basically do what is essential to keep them happy. So if they are happy with 50,000, then I'm just going to put in 50% of my effort, because it will make no sense for me to actually try to do it by 100%. Okay, so this is the concept of what we call profit satisficing, right? Now next, let's talk about short run versus long run. Now it is a common misconception that there is a time frame tied to short run and long run. Okay, there is actually no time frame tied to short run and long run. Okay, in econs, right, short run is just a time period where there are both fixed inputs and variable inputs. And in the long run, there are no fixed inputs. Actually, all inputs are variable. And let me try to explain that to you. Let's talk about a tuition center that has a seating capacity of 30 students. Okay, in the short run, what are my fixed inputs of the tuition center? Number one, the space that I have, the tuition center space that I have is a fixed input. Okay, the materials that I can print, like the textbooks that you're holding on to now, those are variable inputs, those are raw materials. I can increase the number of textbooks to be printed immediately or reduce them accordingly. Then my administrators that we hire, they are also variable inputs, because if I've got more students, I can hire more administrators. If I've got less students, I can hire less administrators, so that's also a variable input. My utilities bills is also a variable input. If I use more electricity, I pay more. I use less, I pay less. So that's also variable. But there is one thing that is fixed. The amount of space I have in the classroom is fixed. In the short run, there are fixed inputs and there are variable inputs. In the long run, if my tuition classes constantly exceed 30 students, what do you think I can do? What do you think I can do? If my tuition center capacity keep on exceeding 30 students, what do you think I should do? Okay, I should expand. I should try to find a new venue, right? That allows me to seat a larger number of students, right? Right. Finding this new venue takes time, because I need to find a new venue, number one. I need to actually do renovation number 2, I need to apply for licensing number 3. But the fact is that in the long run, I'm able to convert this fixed input into something that's variable. So in the long run, all inputs are actually variable. So in the short run, inputs can be fixed, can be variable. But in the long run, all inputs are said to be variable. So that's the difference between short run and long run. So in the long run, everything has become variable. In the short run, you still have things that are fixed and things that are variable. Okay? Now, next, okay, so we've already covered this. So this, your fixed cost will be rent and cost of machinery equipment. Your variable cost will be raw materials and labor. Okay, this part is a self-study segment. You can go and download the slides and read up on your own. They are self-study because they're typically not really tested for examinations. That's why they're self-study. So this part is self-study, self-study, self-study. Okay, next, we're going to cover this concept called economies of scale. What are your economies of scale? Okay, the long story short about economies of scale is this, is that as I produce more of a good, I start to experience cost savings. So cost savings are, you see, your average cost comes down, the red part of the graph. As I start to produce more of a good, I start to experience cost savings, and that causes my cost to come down. Okay, and then as it comes down, it stays put for a while. And then after that, as I start to produce too much, okay, I start to experience an increase in cost instead. So when I experience these cost savings, I call these cost savings economies of scale. Okay, when the costs start to go up because I'm producing way too much, they are called these economies of scale. Okay, I'm going to try to explain to you this concept of this, why might it be good. Hey, our assumption always is that monopolies are bad. Our assumption is that monopolies are bad. But I'm going to use this example to show you sometimes a natural monopoly is not bad. Alright, we are saying that sometimes a natural monopoly is not seen to be a bad thing. Alright, so I'll go through this last example and then I'll give you a 5-minute break. Okay. Now, first, imagine if you were on a plane and your plane crashed. Touch wood, we won't be taking planes anytime soon, but let's say you were on a plane, the plane crashed, and then all of you survived for some reason. Okay, and then you are stuck on an island, and then nobody know where you are, and then because of that, you all started to live on the island, started producing things, and then collectively you produce 10,000. Collectively as a population you consume 10,000 apples a month, and then one guy has decided to be the one that produces farmers, and he decides to actually sell you one apple at the price of $1.50, and then his cost price is $1. And then you have this bitterness here because you see, wow, this guy makes so much money producing apples. He makes 50% profit. If he sell $1.50, that's 50% profit. That's very disgusting. So I want to come in and I want to compete with him. Okay? So we are saying that actually that's a terrible idea because in this specific example, it is a good thing. Okay? Yeah, I don't know why the diagram disappeared, but never mind, I draw for you. I'll draw this for you in a minute. Now, this graph is actually showing us that there is economies of scale when you produce at a larger quantity. Now, so if one firm produces at the quantity of 10,000 apples, the price of producing one apple is $1. But if you have two firms in the market and then each firm only produces 5,000 apples, then the cost price for producing one apple becomes $2. Okay, so in our original situation, okay, cost is $1, then sell at $1.50. So our new scenario is our cost is $2 and then we sell at $2.20. Now you will see that even though in the original situation the fellow makes a lot more profits, and in the second situation the fellow makes a lot less profits, but it is actually better for us to stick to the original situation. Because why? In the original situation your selling price is lower than the new situation. So in that case, it is because the minimum efficient scale for producing the apples is 10,000. So you need one firm to produce at the minimum efficient scale. You can't have two firms, because if you have two firms, none of the two firms will be able to produce at the minimum efficient scale. So the cost will become very high. So minimum efficient scale is the minimum quantity to be producing at for you to be efficient. That's why it's called minimum efficient scale. So in the case where a market is very small and the minimum efficient scale is very high, it might be better to have one firm to produce for the entire market as opposed to having two firms. Are you okay? Right, so I think it's a halfway point of the lesson. So for all of our lessons, from now we will always take a mid-lesson break halfway through the lesson. Okay, so you can go and recharge, you can go and grab a drink, go to the washroom, walk around your house. Okay, instead of staring at the screen the whole time. If not, it gets very lethargic. Okay, so take a 5-minute break. Please come back. During the break, you can feel free to turn off the web cameras. When you are back, turn back on your web cameras so that I know you are back, so I can continue the class. So you take a 5-minute break for now. Now it's 2:03. Let's come back at 2:08 to continue the class. Okay? Right, so come back at 2:08. Okay, right, I hope everybody is back. So once everybody is back, our mic cameras turn back on so that I know that you are back. Okay, once you're back, web cameras back on, so I know that you guys are back and I can continue with my class. Okay, nice that some of y'all are at Golden Gate Bridge of San Francisco. Alright, so I wish I was on a holiday right now instead of zooming my classes, which is damn sian. Alright, so I bet you are even more sian given that you had already 1 day of home-based learning and you're going to have another 30 plus days of home-based learning. So let's hope that this circuit breaker works and we can all go back to physical classroom lessons soon. Instead of staying at home, or maybe some of you who are introverts, you actually prefer staying at home and doing nothing except to attend online classes. No, you hate it, right? Today's only like day 2. Okay, so let's get back to class and continue. Now let me go ahead and explain the different kinds of economies of scale that exist to you. Now I'm not going to go through every single one of them. If you're interested, I'm sure you have the ability to go and Google it up. Okay, they are very easy to understand. They're more descriptive than anything else, so I'm not going to go through every single point. I'll go through a couple of them. Okay, now so I'll start first with the whole concept of what economies of scale is all about. Now economies of scale as a concept is basically if you produce more, you start to experience cost savings. Your cost production comes down because of the very sheer fact that you're producing more. Okay, it's a bit like, you know, your mother go to the wet market and then you go and negotiate with the vegetable seller and say, hey auntie, I buy a lot, can you give me cheaper or not? Or you buy the fish, you buy many kilos and you negotiate for a lower price. I buy 10 kilos, give me cheaper, can or not? Right, it's a little bit like that. So economies of scale is when you are actually able to push down your costs just by the sheer fact that because you're producing more. So I'm going to start first with the concept of technical economies of scale. Airlines will be one example of technical economies of scale, the ability to enjoy technical economies of scale. Now, firms like Singapore Airlines, compared to firms like Jetstar, firms like Singapore Airlines are better able to enjoy economies of scale because of their ability to use bigger aircrafts. When you use bigger aircrafts, like Airbus A350, okay, you can take maybe like 500 passengers. Whereas if you're a small firm like Jetstar and you're able to only use small aircrafts like Airbus A320, you're only able to take maybe 180 passengers. So 500 over passengers versus 180 passengers, you're able to take actually 3 times more passengers with just one aircraft. But even though you take 3 times more passengers with one aircraft, you do not use the same number of pilots, you do not use the same number of cabin crew. So it is actually cheaper to use a bigger aircraft because you actually use, if you do a proportionate basis, right, you actually use less pilots and less cabin crew when you spread the numbers out across the passengers. So you're actually able to save some costs. Also, your bigger aircrafts, they're sometimes more fuel efficient than your smaller aircrafts. So you actually have some cost savings associated with operating bigger aircrafts. Okay, when you look at the cost on a per passenger basis. Okay, and then your marketing economies of scale, just to give you an example. So like, for example, if there was 100 McDonald's restaurants in Singapore, I'm sure there are more than 100 McDonald's restaurants in Singapore. If 100 McDonald's restaurant in Singapore wants to do a Straits Times advertisement, so let's say a Straits Times advertisement costs $50,000 for one front page, full page Straits Times advertisement. It costs $50,000. If you've got 100 restaurants, okay, 100 restaurants, $50,000 is only what, $500 per restaurant to do the full page Straits Times advertisement. But if you are operating, let's say Popeye's Chicken, and you only have 10 outlets, so 50,000 divided by 10 outlets, each restaurant must pay 500. Okay, so you will see that there is a difference in terms of the ability to do advertising costs. The advertising costs are lower for bigger firms. Financial economies of scale will be like, let's say, you know, now in terms of this COVID-19 crisis, right? Okay, COVID-19 crisis, let's say, I don't know, maybe, I don't know what kind of firm is very, very big. Crystal Jade. Do you think Crystal Jade is a big firm? I think Crystal Jade is a big firm. Okay, you think QuickSurgery is a big firm? Or maybe BreadTalk. Do you think BreadTalk is a big firm? BreadTalk. BreadTalk owns Din Tai Fung. It owns BreadTalk, of course. It owns, what else does it own? Toastbox. It owns Toastbox. So do you think BreadTalk is a big firm? How about Economics at Tuition Genius? Is it a big firm or a small firm? It's a small firm, right? So Economics at Tuition Genius is a small firm. BreadTalk is a big firm. So if BreadTalk goes to the bank and say, hey, the COVID-19 crisis has affected us and we want to borrow some money. Okay, BreadTalk, because it's a big firm, right, the banks will give them a much lower interest rate because they are more reliable and they are more trustworthy. Whereas Economics at Tuition Genius is a smaller firm. Okay, so if it goes to the bank and say, hey, I'm in trouble, can you lend me some money? They'll say, hey, are you going to close down or not? Right? So they're going to be worried. So that's why they will actually charge you a higher interest rate because of the higher risk. So big firms, they get to borrow money at much lower cost than the smaller firms, okay, which reduces the cost of production. Alright, internal diseconomies of scale, as you can see here, internal diseconomies of scale is when your cost starts to rise. When your cost starts to rise, when you start to produce way too much. Okay? Now, what are your internal diseconomies of scale is when, let's say, one of the key reasons why you have internal diseconomies of scale is because when your firm goes too big, there will be difficulties in terms of communication. When you want to pass down a single message, okay, to disseminate the message, it takes time, and sometimes messaging gets distorted. It's very hard to actually carry out a unified policy in a company when you have too many workers, for example. Whereas if in a small company, you want to communicate with workers, you just hold a meeting and tell your workers what you want. Whereas if the CEO wants to carry out, of a big company wants to carry out a specific policy, the passing down of message is going to take time and there may be some distortions. Alright? That's why you experience internal economies of scale. Okay, external economies of scale is when your whole industry grows as a whole. So if your entire industry, okay, I show you this. So internal economies of scale is when your firm increase in size. So when your firm increase in size, your cost starts to come down, and then it stays put for a while, and after it starts rising. It's a movement along this LRAC curve. This is when your firm itself increase in size. When the whole industry grows in size, your LRAC curve shifts downwards. The whole curve shifts downwards. Okay, when the industry grows as a whole, your whole curve shifts downwards. Okay, you can go and read up when the whole industry will grow as a whole. I'm going to take some time now to run through a diagram practice with you. Okay, so this is the time where you take blank paper and we're going to do some diagram practice together. Paper and pen or paper and pencil. Let's do some diagram practice together for today's lesson. Okay, make sure you have pen and paper in front of you. We're going to draw some diagrams together. Okay, so we're going to draw our AR and MR curves. So I'll start first by splitting this into two halves. Okay, so I will start here with PC, and then here will be okay, so I'll split these to two halves. Okay, so okay, for your PC, right? Your AR curve is also equals to your MR curve, and this is also your demand curve. It's just a horizontal line. Why? Because your PC firm is a price taker. So there is only one price. So that's why your demand curve is equals to your AR curve is equals to your MR curve. Okay, very straightforward. Okay, next. Okay, your demand curve is equals to average revenue curve, and then your marginal revenue curve is always the halfway point between your origin and your AR curve. Okay, so practice drawing your AR curves and your MR curves for the different kinds of market structure. Okay, if you're drawing, keep drawing. If you are done drawing, then face in the web camera so I know you are done. And when you're done, I will proceed to the next slide. Okay, drawing, go ahead and draw. Then done, go ahead and stare at me in the camera so that I know you are done. Okay, as long as you are not staring at the camera, I assume you are still drawing. Shandon still drawing, right? Okay, I'll give you some time. So Jinsing, faster go and buy a new web camera. You're going to have a month of home-based learning. You don't have a web camera, go and get one. If not, then you can log in to another device using Zoom. By the way, you can log in to more than one device. You can log in like 2 devices. You can use one to watch. Then you can use another one to use as a web camera if you want to. Okay. All done, huh? Let's go on. Can I erase this? You're all done? Can I erase this? Can, huh? Okay, let's erase. Let's go. Let me just deal with this stupid blue line. How come there's a stupid blue line here? Delete. Okay, let's do this. Okay, your AC and MC curve, right? Don't need to split because all the market structures are the same. So your AC and MC curve no need to split. Let me use another color because it's really very hard to see. So let's use another color. As I'm drawing, you draw also. Okay, so for your MC curve, Nike tick. Okay, and then don't ask why yet. Okay, later I will explain if we have the time. Your MC curve must always cut your AC curve at the minimum point. I repeat, MC must cut AC at AC's minimum point. Okay, this is a rule. It's a rule that has to be followed strictly. MC must cut the AC curve at its minimum point. Okay, so make sure that you learn how to draw this properly. Still drawing, continue drawing, done drawing, stare at me in the screen so I know that you are done drawing. Okay, let me check if everybody is done. Seems like everybody is done. Good. Let's move on. Can I erase this diagram? Okay. Now let's move on to draw a normal profit diagram. We need to split this up. Okay? Because your profit diagram for PC and all other market structure, it has to differ. And your PC is one diagram and all other market structures is another diagram. So make sure that you have varying a different diagram for each of these. We start first with the PC one. The PC one is very easy to draw. You're basically combining all of the diagrams just now together. Alright? So let's go and do this. This is quantity, this is price, this is cost, this is revenue. Okay, so your PC curve has a straight line that serves as your demand and also your AR. Okay, your PC curve also has a standard marginal cost curve. So the profit maximization output, okay, where is the profit maximization output? The profit maximization output we shall highlight here in red. Okay, so this will give us our profit maximization output QE, profit maximization price PE. Okay, now to find out profits, to draw profits, you need one curve. Okay, your profits, you have normal profits when your TR is equals to your TC. You have normal profits when your AR is equals to your AC. Okay, so now your AR is also your price. So your price is also basically your AR, by the way. Then you see your AR is your price. So if you want to draw normal profit, all you need to do is to draw in your AC curve such that it cuts here, so you have normal profits. So this is how your normal profit diagram looks like. Okay, I'm going to give you some time to draw this before I move on to the next one. So again, stare at me in the web camera once you're done drawing. Okay, looks like everybody is done. So I'm going to go ahead to draw the next one, which is normal profit for all other market structures. Okay, go back to using blue. Oops. Okay, For all others, you start first with a standard demand curve, and then you have a standard Okay, you start first with a standard demand curve, and then you also have a standard MR curve. So this is your demand equals to AR, and then this is your MR, and then you have a standard MC curve, which is a 90 tick. Okay, let's find out where is your profit maximization point. The profit maximization point is here. So this gives us your output, this gives us your price. Okay, so this point here is important because this point here is where you need your AC to cut so that you are making normal profits. So whatever you are drawing for your AC curve, you need to make sure that your AC curve cuts here. Okay, so remember your MC curve need to cut AC as minimum point, but also another condition is that your AC curve need to cut your price at this specific output level. This needs to be the price so that your AR is equals to your AC. So as long as AR equals to your AC, then you have normal profits. Okay, so this is your normal profit diagram. Please draw already, then come back and stare at me. Then we continue with the next slide. Okay, stare at me once you're done, so I know you're done. I can move on to the next slide. Are you okay with me erasing this whole page already? Okay? Okay, erase already, last call, gone. Next. Supernormal profits. This is our last thing that we're doing for today already. Supernormal profits. Let's draw a line first. Oh, we don't need to draw a line. Don't need to draw a line because your PC firm don't make supernormal profits. Your PC firm can't make supernormal profits. Okay, so supernormal profits doesn't apply to PC firm, so we're only drawing one diagram for this one. Okay, so how do we draw supernormal profits? So this is quantity, this is price, cost, revenues. We have our standard demand curve, our standard marginal revenue curve. So this is our demand equals to AR. This is our MR. Okay, then the next curve we need to draw always your 90 tick, which is the MC curve. Then our MC cut MR here. This gives us our profit maximization output. Then we go up to the demand curve. This gives us our profit maximization price. Okay, now how to draw supernormal profits? Supernormal profits is achieved when your total revenue is greater than your total cost, or when your average revenue is greater than your average cost. Okay, so your average revenue is also your price, right? So if your average revenue is also your price, so you just need to make sure that your average cost curve cuts below the average revenue. So let's say if I draw it in to be somewhat around here. If I draw it in to be somewhat around here, then you realize that, okay, at this output level, this will be my average cost. So my total revenue minus my total cost, I will have this area of profits in green. Okay, this area in green, those are my supernormal profits. Because my total revenue is P times Q, my total cost is AC times Q. So total revenue minus total cost, it gives me this area of supernormal profits. So this is how we draw our supernormal profits. Okay, with that, we are done. Now, so let me tell you how our live stream lessons will work from now. Especially for the J1s. For the J1, some of you, this might be your first live stream sessions. J2s, you would have already attended a couple of live stream sessions, so I think you're familiar. Right, for the J1s, how the live stream sessions will work basically is that the first, if it's a content lesson like today's lesson, the first part of the lesson, which will be about 1 hour 30 to 1 hour 40 minutes long, will be me teaching, and so you are kind of silenced except in the chat box. So during lesson, you have any questions you can ask using the chat box, okay, as we are proceeding in the lesson, right? But your microphones are muted. Right, after the lesson itself, right, when we finish the content segment of the session, at the end of the lesson, we have a Q&A section. Okay, end of every session, we have a 15 minutes to 20 minutes worth of Q&A session, whereby you should turn on your microphones to ask questions. And this is the part whereby if for students who have no questions, they can log off, okay, and they can go and do other things already. For students who have questions, they should stay online. Okay, turn on their web cameras, turn on their microphones and ask. Okay, and for students who have no questions to ask but they got time and they want to hang around and see what other students are asking, they can do so. Okay, so this is the part of the lesson where we are doing a Q&A already. So if you have any questions, you can go ahead and turn on your web cameras and ask. Okay, turn on your web cameras, turn on your microphones to ask. Give me a minute. Why is the AC one where AC cuts MR? Okay, let me just go back to this again. Okay, the question is why is the AC one where AC cuts MR? Okay, how we find our AC one is that we join our AC curve, then based on our profit maximization output, this is the output that the monopoly has chosen to produce at. So based on this output level, you go up to the AC curve, you get the cost, you get the AC one from here. So you go take QE, reference up to the AC curve, this is your AC one. Okay? Right. Can explain the natural monopoly and MES curve again? Yeah, sure. Let's go back to the previous slide. Okay, what is your natural monopoly? Your natural monopoly occurs when, again, I'm going to use the same example that I've drawn just now for you to see. Okay, so in a natural monopoly, okay, this 10,000 is what we call the minimum efficient scale. Minimum efficient scale means I want to produce at least 10,000 units, because if I don't produce 10,000 units, I won't be able to produce at this low cost of $1. Okay, so if there were one firm producing, so if the market demand is 10,000 units. If you have one firm producing, then you will have one firm producing 10,000 units. If you have two firms producing, each firm will only produce 5,000 units. You have three firms producing, then each firm will only produce 3,333 units. Okay, you will see that the costs go up. If you produce 3,000 units, if you produce 3K units, the cost go up to maybe $4. So the cost becomes very, very high. It becomes very, very expensive to produce. So in a market like that, okay, it's better for us to produce 10,000 units and just have one firm producing 10,000 units. Because if one firm produces at 10,000 units, they can produce at the minimum efficient scale, and therefore the price of apples will go down to $1, which is cheap. You don't want more firms and more competition just for the sake of competition. When you have more firms, the costs go up, then you have to pay a higher price. Then it makes sense to have a monopoly for an industry like that. So these industries are typically industries whereby the market demand is very small. Okay, the market demand is very small. When the market demand is very small, it makes sense to have a natural monopoly. In other words, to have just one firm producing for the entire market. Okay, so that is natural monopoly and the MAS. So for utilities providers, you should turn on your mics if you've got questions to ask. So for utility providers, it doesn't mean all utilities providers in the world are natural monopoly, by the way. It just happens that in small countries, so utilities providers, when we say they are big or small, is with context to the market. Like for example, Singapore utilities providers are small because our populations are small. If you talk about Germany, you talk about UK, you talk about China, you talk about that, of course the demand is not small. But for a country like Singapore, our utilities providers are considered to be small. So whoever has any questions, you can turn on your microphones and ask. Anyone? Okay, don't be shy. Go ahead and ask. If you've got questions to ask, go ahead and ask. I'm here to answer your questions.
Mr. To.
Yes, what's up?
Why is it a must that MC must cut AC as minimum point?
Why is it what must cut what at minimum point?
MC must cut AC at minimum point. It's a must. Why?
Okay, give me a minute. Okay, so this one I'm not going to use diagrams to explain to you. I'm going to try to use an analogy to explain to you. Okay, I'll try my best. So you try to pay attention to what analogy I'm giving. Okay, I've got a class of 10 girls. Okay, a class of 10 girls. Their average height is 1.7 meters tall. Okay, that's a very, very tall class of girls. So I repeat, I've got a class of 10 girls. Okay, and their average height is 1.7 meters tall. Okay, wait, I think I need a diagram. give me a minute first. I draw a diagram first, then after that I get you to imagine first. Give me a minute. So let me first share my screen. Share, start. Okay. Okay, so this is artificial divider. On the left hand side of this divider, so the divider shouldn't exist one, it's just for your reference. On the left hand side of this divider, your marginal cost is smaller than your average cost. On the right hand side of this curve, your marginal cost is higher than your average cost. Can you agree on that? Okay, so now I'm starting on my analogy again. So we use the analogy that I just said again one more time. I've got a class of 10 girls. Their average height is 1.7 meters tall. Okay, now if I add one extra girl to the class, and this extra girl, her height is 1.6 meters tall. What happens to the average height of the class? You do, over on the left hand side, the height of the girl that I'm adding to the class is lower than the average height of the class, correct? What happens to the average height? It starts to fall. Make sense? Let's now look at the right hand side of the graph. I got a class of 1.7 meter tall girls, average height 1.7 meter tall, 10 girls. I add a 1.8 meter tall girl. I don't know got such girl exists or not. But we add a girl who is 1.8 meters tall to the class. Okay, so the marginal height 1.8 meters is higher than average height 1.7 meters, right? So what happens to the average height of the class? When you add girls with a taller height to the class, what happens to the average height of the class?
Increases.
So, the reason why your MC curve cut your AC curve at the minimum point is nothing to do with econs. It's got to do with mathematics. The relationship between marginal and average. Okay, class? So nothing to do with econs, this is math. This is math. This is the relationship between marginal amounts and average amounts.
Thank you.
No problem. Anybody else has any other questions? Hey, if you have questions, you can stay behind and ask. If you don't have questions, you're free to log off.
Bye, Mr. Dong.
Bye, see you.
See you.
Anyone else has any other questions?